So next up, we have another fireside chat, again, one of the veterans in the industry. May I say that? Well, with Ingmar Schmidt from Swisscom, being interviewed by John Moulding, and yeah, now you can see how these things should really be done. Welcome. So please put your hands together for the two of them. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you, and welcome Ingmar. So if you don't know Ingmar, he's Ingmar Schmidt. He's Senior Product Manager at Swisscom Blue TV. And today we're talking about how Swisscom is getting itself onto more big screens. Now, of course, you've already got your sort of classic Blue TV set-top box. That's your Android open source platform. But what we're talking about today really is the getting onto more screens. So the one that's very interesting in particular is that you've got a deal where you've gone onto the Sunrise set-top box. Now, they're a pay TV rival in your own market, but you are now an app on their set-top box. So just talk us through how that actually happened, first of all, in terms of the commercials.
Yeah, so there's quite some history to it. As I last said here 3 years ago, I talked about Swisscom TV, and now the whole thing is called Blue TV. So what happened in between is we reached a saturated market situation. We reached the field that the competitors were just chasing our customers, and we also bought a few companies which we already had a major stake in, but made them fully Swisscom, which were at the time Kitag, owning the major stake of cinemas in Switzerland, Teleclub, which was our source for the friction and sports portfolios in the pay TV region, and we also had a news campaign, Blue Win. All that collected to the main brand, we formed it under Blue Entertainment. For such, we renamed the product Blue TV. And with that, we had a different approach into the market because we now could offer a real entertainment perspective, hard to copy and meme by our competitors. But also we wanted to offer this directly to our competitors. In Switzerland, the sports situation is currently structured as we holding most of the rights in football. Our competitors were holding the rights in ice hockey, and public available is mostly the ski sports. So that's when it comes to interest in sports, pretty much divided. And there was no interest in keeping that separated. No longer did it present an advantage for you. So we are marketing the My Sports proposition, which is the ice hockey sports content from our competitors in market. We have the football rights, which we have bundled in sports subscriptions. And we had our own platform. So no longer giving just the linear channels to the customers which reside on the other side. It is the question, you package this whole in a new brand. You want to transport your brand, you want to transport your UX. And once you just shuffle over the linear channels, you're not in charge of that. Something which we dearly learned when we built up our platform, that UX is the differentiation key and is the major concern for our customers in terms of convenience. For that, we built an HTML5 app based on React with different players to be able to support the different platforms we were aiming for. And this HTML5 based app now runs on Samsung, LG, on the set-top box of the Horizon generation from Liberty Global, which now is Sunrise, and other platforms.
So where once you would have allowed them to carry the linear channels, the sports channels, now if their customers are coming to watch your football, they have to come through your what is basically a direct-to-consumer app, which is onboarded onto their set-top box.
Okay. Which serves first-hand also the customer contact. We're creating a business relationship with that customer, and we are oriented serving this offering directly as an OTT. So we're copying what we have seen in the last market years from all these approaches that others coming to our platform. We ourselves getting a platform serving through an app, being in charge of how the UX is presented and how it's being catered to the customer. That said, it comes at a cost, because going OTT brings you in the direction of that you no longer have the direct control how it's being served through the network, what the bandwidths are. A lot of challenges in collecting data to ensure the quality served is good enough. And it's an interesting field to be in.
Okay, and you mentioned it's the same client as you use for Samsung and LG, so you've created one common app,
Yes.
which is also used on the rival operator set-top boxes.
Like every major operator, we have to watch where we invest our resources, and creating individualized apps for each of those platforms is just a development effort we no longer could bear.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about the actual code then. I mean, it's HTML5, is that right? Browser-based?
HTML5 browser-based, we were supporting from Chromium version 33 up, 51 up. That meant supporting a Samsung base would mean devices from 2018, LG 2017, and that already created quite a big addressable audience which we could serve through the app.
Okay. And then the other sort of big project that you've had recently is you've made Apple TV boxes available as another set-top box choice for people in Swisscom homes. So these are your existing customers.
Yes.
And you would ship these boxes to them, and it's kind of like an alternative to getting your box.
Switzerland is an Apple fan country. The iPhone penetration is enormous high in Switzerland. So what we launched 2 weeks ago is the choice. Once you're becoming a Blue TV customer, you can choose from an Android set-top box, homemade Swisscom, or the Apple TV box. From that point on, most of the experience is pretty much identical, even going down the road of single sign-on IP to ID. So the ramp-up experience of bringing that device up and working is pretty much streamlined, and I think it's a good opening of our environment, even so leaving the turf where we redistributed our signal through multicast on the Android-based set-top boxes into Unicast. And we had the Apple TV client launched a year ago. What we now launched is the full integration under the Apple TV provider program.
Okay, which is their version of Android operator too.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And that client, that's different to the others. That's, you know, you had to build a different client for this box, is that right?
That one bases on Apple development technology,
okay.
tvOS.
Yeah, okay. And then how do people log on? Do they just literally put it on the network and it boots up your app? Or is the app pre-installed and then it just boots up when I put it onto the Swisscom broadband?
Within the Apple TV provider program, you are equipped with certain measures to ensure that your app is well presented. And you're also shipping a custom remote control, which certain buttons are deep linked through your app. So it's no longer just being one app among others, like you would be on Samsung or LG. You're more deeply integrated in this partnership, and that's the reason why we considered an equal set-top box next to ours, despite the technical advantages of the Apple TV box.
So are you the default UI that you come into, or are you just a very prominent app once you get onto the Apple box?
The very prominent app on the home screen, but if you press the EPG button, the grid which comes up is served through our app.
Okay, and this is Unicast now, isn't it? So
yes.
If I'm on one of your original Swisscom boxes, I'm multicasting linear channels. On the Apple box, it's Unicast.
It's the first Unicast box in field. Of course, all those other companion clients we launched in recent years, Samsung mobile tablet clients, they are also Unicast ABR.
Yeah. Okay, and you've got UHD channels, and presumably there's no issue there putting UHD live sports into Unicast.
Standard lineup has 7 UHD channels, which we also serve on OTT devices. And if you go for the full pay packages, you can achieve up to 14 or 15 with current lineup.
Okay, and I think your broadband's already very powerful. I'm sure you told me it was 95% of homes have 18 meg download.
90% of the homes we're serving have at least 18 meg, but we already achieved 45% of fiber, and by end of 2025 we have the target to achieve 60% fiber turf.
Okay. Now we've got time for audience questions if you've got any, so put your hand up. I've got a few more still to come. But so do you think that Unicast is the way forward? I mean, we heard Deutsche Telekom, they're obviously looking at adaptive bitrate streaming into set-top boxes as their common platform in future. I mean, is it adaptive bitrate streaming for you? Multicast ends at some point?
Well, I can strongly underline the initial notion from Deutsche Telekom that there's a lot of innovation happening on that point. The other point, we're driven in this direction, if we want or not, because if we're not doing it, Netflix and Co will do it. Mm. So you need to be ready with your core network. with your technical capability of learning how to maintain a Unicast-based network. And the world is going to be OTT. Near future or far future, that depends on the question if you're standing on the shoulders of giants.
Okay, have we got any questions yet? No? Okay, well tell us about the sort of the main lessons that you learned then from this implementation of the browser app in particular for the smart TVs and for the rival operator boxes. I mean, in terms of the sort of the architecture, the implementation, is there anything particularly stand out there that sort of challenged you?
It is very important in such an approach to, through the whole development process, pay much attention to efficient programming, to be able to support legacy boxes with weaker CPUs or less memory. You need a new navigation concept because you're no longer in charge of the remote, how many buttons, how many steering commands you can give. You need a reduction that's set. So a lot of mind goes into how can we maintain the superior experience with less navigation commands and haptics as an input. And it brings you to new partnerships because you're dependent on those partners. If they do a firmware rollout and change slightly the browser implementation, it might completely kill your application at a certain point. And how to deal with that operational-wise with your customers still calling you to fix that, that's a new challenge to go through.
Okay, last chance for audience questions. And Ingmar's going to be on the next panel, so if not, we'll leave it there and I'll just make way for the panel. So thank you very much, Ingmar.
Thank you for being there.
Stay where you are. Thank you.